Hi friends, and welcome back. If you happen to be new to this channel, thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate all of you very, very much, and I really mean that. So here we are. We're facing the end of 2020, and well, I could say a lot there, but I might save that for another chit chat. What I really wanted to share today was something that I just rediscovered when I did my yearly review, and I'm talking about grabbing your trusty journal and just going through your notes, your tarot spreads, any observations that you took down throughout the year. I enjoy that so much, and I always take my time, say between Boxing Day and the 31st of December, and yeah, just sail through it and rediscover some of my experiences and observations that I took down, see how relevant that is to the person I am today. But something that really stood out was the notes that I read a year ago, in fact 13 months ago, pertaining to my upcoming 9 personal year. And what I'm referring to is the numerology personal year that runs birthday to birthday. For anyone that is unfamiliar with the numerology personal year, I will place a video below that I recorded a little while ago, just explaining a little bit about it and how to calculate your own. But just in a nutshell, basically in the world of numerology, we live with, or say under, an umbrella energy of a number every year of our life, and they run in order of appearance, single digits, so cycles of 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9, so on and so forth. So a little bit like the tarot, ace through 10 in numerology, the end of the cycle is the 9 because it's the last single digit, and it's as if you could suggest we shed a skin every 9 years. So a 9 personal year is very important, and to be honest with you, I've actually been going through a very big personal shift that parallels, in a sense, that 9 philosophy anyway for the past 3 years. And because of that, I felt really enthused to share these pointers, these recommendations with you, because I feel, considering the times that we live in right now, after a very, very challenging and complex year, a lot of the pointers that I wrote down for myself to adhere to during my 9 personal year, I think are strangely apt to today, like this time frame that we find ourselves in, the circumstances in which we live. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to share them and just take what you need out of this. See if you resonate with any of them. Because really, at the end of the day, it pertains to non-attachment. Before I share them, I just want to make it very clear that I totally understand just how stressful this year has been. And I am aware that a lot of people have lost so much. This is not about giving away or parting with everything that you treasure and love. I don't know, just for the sake of it. It is, there's a big difference, I think, between giving things away that you feel you need to non-attachment. I was affected very, very directly by COVID also, because I ran my little tarot business from home, and all of a sudden I couldn't see clients, and it has not fully recovered by no means. So I totally understand. So I hope you'll see this in the light that it is intended. So allow me to take a sip of my morning coffee. So first of all, what I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit about the 9 energy, right? So you may be in a 9 personal year, you may not. It doesn't matter. The whole point of this video is I still can't get over the fact that they seem to be so apt. As I said, the point is the recommendations that, excuse me, if you were in a 9 year, I'd be suggesting to you, you need to attend to this. But because you are not necessarily traveling through a 9 year, it's just a general recommendation that I think is very fitting for today's world. So I'll just leave it at that. Excuse me, sorry. So in a 9 year, the crux of the matter is because it's a year of endings and completions and conclusions, it's all about releasing what you no longer need. It's about tying up loose ends. So I call it a personal stock take. I need to sit quietly with myself and ask, what is it that I need to retain and what is it that I need to release? That one there, that's a tricky one, isn't it? And it's not just everything around you. I mean, it includes everything around you, the stock take itself. But of course, I think the most challenging part is the internal stock take. So if I were talking to a client who was approaching their 9-year, I would be explaining certain things like, have a look around you. Let's just start simple. Around the home. Are there cupboards that seem to be filling up with stuff that we just tend to say, oh, here, look, I'll just close the door on that and I'll get around to that later. And that can go on for years, as you know. There could be jobs around the home where, you know, I've had a client say, oh, I told my wife 2 years ago I'd paint the eaves on the house and I still haven't done it. It's kind of weighing me down. And this is the year, right? Get that job done, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but it's anything, if you are truly honest with yourself, that is weighing down on your mind and your heart. The whole idea, obviously, is you want to alleviate yourself of those tasks, of that burden, of that weight, so you can move into the one personal year fresh and fluid, with a spring in your step, with clear eyes, because obviously the one is about new beginnings, starting afresh, paving the way for the new, setting down the foundations for not only that 12-month period that we call a one personal year, but you have to keep in mind you have commenced a whole new 9-year cycle. So you just want to have a little bit of a vision beyond the 1 year. So if you carry a whole lot of dross from the last 9-year cycle, you're carrying around, I suppose it's like going to a tropical island for a month-long stay, and you bring a suitcase full of swimwear and summerwear, and then you bring an extra suitcase full of winterwear that obviously you're not going to need, but you have to carry it around anyway. So there's no point in weighing yourself down. And I also suggest to clients, it's almost like if you decided that it's time for fresh new home decor and you order in a new couch and a new sideboard and a TV stand and a coffee table, etc., but you don't sell your own furniture. So the furniture truck arrives and they're like, well, where are we going to put this stuff? There's no space. So I think we do that to ourselves unconsciously. So that's why, according to the numbers, you get a full 12-month period to sort this out. But of course, we're just speaking generally at the moment. So the 9-year is about, well, this is what I recommend. And this is where I think it's quite fitting to us all at the end of this very complex year. Whew, take a deep breath. Sit down. Now, in order to take time to attend to this personal stock take, I always recommend to clients, take a little step back if you can. Try and step away from a lot of the modern distractions. And I, as an example, took a very conscious step back from, say, social media. To me, that's one of the big ones these days. It's so busy, it's ongoing, you know, you can get on and scroll and scroll and scroll. And there are many advantages to social media because here we are right now, we're communicating, we're sharing, we're keeping in touch with each other. But it is endless. And I think in a 9-year, it's a good idea just to take a step back and look at life as best you can on a day-to-day basis. Because what you're doing is you're slowing down and you're simplifying, because we're so busy all of the time. And I think what we tend to do is just skim the surface. I've got so many things to do today and I'll just kind of deal with a little bit of everything. So that's not going to cut it if you want to do a personal stock take. So just try and have that day-to-day. Think about the blessings of every day, sunrise, sunset, so you're not caught up in that, oh my God, a month has gone by and I don't even remember it, because I've found myself in that headspace also. Once we get to that mindset. It's like bringing everything back to basics. And as I'm always saying, breathe. Just sit down, take a breath, day to day, back to basics. And the whole idea, I think, or one of the main themes of a 9 personal year for me, is to simplify my life. Simplify on all levels, every level of existence. Embrace those quiet times that you create for yourself. And then out of that, you are free to move into a very personal stock take. Because besides all of those external things that I told you about, and I now that may have served you perfectly 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 7 years ago, but you've got to look at who you are today and the person that you are growing into. And just be gentle, but be very, very honest with yourself. Because the trickiest part of this whole cycle, I think, are the internal arenas. So we are speaking of perspectives. Maybe it's time for a fresh new perspective. Myself. Attachments, such a big one. We can be attached emotionally, we can be attached to physical items, but they have a sentimental, they have sentimental value, etc. and so on. Expectations, that's the other one. And that's why I keep pressing that honesty aspect of the whole journey. We really need to be honest. And I think it is very easy to close that cupboard door, both externally and internally. And I always look at it as if I'm dealing with things in my home, it's probably mirroring something that I need to look into emotionally, mentally, internally. That's what I'm trying to say. And just a little pointer also, when I talk about sorting things out in your home, it's just a general comment, but I have always been a tidy person. Even as a kid, I've never been into clutter and having cupboards full of stuff. So it's really important that you don't let your ego trick you into saying, well, I'm tidy, so that means I'm good. But that doesn't mean I'm not hanging on to things I no longer need. So because I've been on this journey anyway, it's interesting because I have an astrological transit that is ongoing for so many years that took me into this mind space, as I said, at least 3 years ago. But for the last 3 years, it has been number 1 on my list. And I cannot tell you the changes that have gone on internally for myself. And that has, the domino effect has affected my physical home also in many ways. And it has been challenging, but it has been the greatest gift of my life. I think also priorities. So have a look in that area. Definitely expectations. And I think attachments is just, that's a big one. And it's far more complex than meets the eye, I do believe. So I just wanted to share those things. And I'll add a couple of pointers to that. Because I really do believe, having moved through a very, very tough year, I think there's a strange irony to gratitude, because that's another point that I would recommend to somebody in a 9 personal year. It's easy to practice gratitude when things are going well. The challenging part is to practice gratitude when things are tricky. And if any year has been tricky, it has been 2020. So for people who have lost, I think everyone has lost financially. Very few people were able to maintain, their normal, quote unquote, lifestyle. But despite that, when I saw all of a sudden I had to just shut down my home business, I sat down to practice gratitude because I've still got a roof over my head. I know I'm safe. It might be tricky, but I know I'm safe. It's all those kind of things. So have a look at that. Even if you have lost out, there is still so much to be grateful for. And I think if you lose out in some area of life, the breakthrough on the other side of that, now that's something to be grateful for. This has been a year of learning, personal growth, big time. And that's my number 1 focus at the moment anyway. So I am very, very grateful. And I think I have grown a lot as a person this year. That whole process of letting go, I have had to let people go this year. I've had to let concepts and ideals and some big, big dreams, travel plans, study plans go. I was so sad that, having finally found the course that I wanted. It was in Bali. Another aspect of the 9 personal year is to travel to places of spiritual significance and study those subjects or further your study in those areas. Perfect timing, so I very consciously waited until the 9 year, found the course after 6 months of research that fits the bill. Just as I'm in the process of booking, it's like, recommended not travel. 5 days later, you will not travel, whether you want to or not, which happened to all of us. But that's what I mean, the strange irony of planning this particular journey in the 9 year, perfect according to the numbers, but I'm in a 9 year of endings. And so I had to let it go and see the blessings out of losing that particular situation, because that was for my career. So a bit of a shame. I'm still sad, but there's the 9 energy for you. So anyway, gratitude, and of course, the one of the biggies, which really I've just explained, be open to change. And once again, I think that is so apt for today's circumstances. Be as fluid as you possibly can. Be open to change. Please accept the changes as best you can. So I suppose what I'd add to that is be open to change and do the best you can to accept the current circumstances. Because what is the alternative? Stress, feeling loss, feeling lost. Where is that going to lead you? Not a happy place. So that doesn't mean you don't stand up for your rights when things need to happen. But I just think at the moment, with globally the changes we have all had to endure, it's best to be as accepting as possible so you can settle back into yourself, ground yourself again, practice gratitude. I think it really helps. So if you practice resistance, you're swimming upstream. You're just going to find yourself lost, lonely, and exhausted. I suppose I'd conclude with a little visualization I used to do for myself, sitting quietly as I approached my 9 year. I reminded myself that, look, things come to us in life, and I'll keep it simple by saying things, which can mean a relationship, a personal item, something big, something small, a job, whatever, anything. But things come to us, but we also reel in. We buy things, we invite people in, da-da-da-da-da. But in a 9 year, the idea is to cup that thing in your hands, but allow for wiggle room. It's so very important. So in other words, in a 9 year, it's highly likely that many things will perhaps be lifted up by the tide, and you'll see that thing float downstream. We don't want to go knee-jerk reaction, I've got to grab that. I'm not finished with that yet. I mean, it might come in handy one day, all that kind of stuff. In a 9 year, I would say, I beseech you, if it starts to float downstream, bless it and let it go. Let it go. Now, you may not be in a 9 year. You may be in a 4 year of building and consolidation. But I would suggest at this time, considering the whole challenge of COVID and, life regarding COVID, what we have had to endure because of COVID isn't going to magically disappear on the 31st of December. We're still going to get that tail end. Well, I hope it's an end, but there's going to be a domino effect into next year, although things are looking brighter. But just saying, it's not going to just 31st, everything disappears. And I'm reminded that people say that all the time. What a difficult year. Thank God it's over, as if to say things will... There is a point to this story, by the way, but as if to say things will, start over on the 1st of January. We need to remind ourselves that the calendar, albeit extremely handy, well-constructed, it is a man-made arrangement. So I appreciate the calendar year and I use it every day, and we are able to sort of harness timelessness and divide it into segments and keep track and schedule things. But just because the 31st is the last day of the year, it doesn't mean that everything will simply start afresh. Not everything. However, the whole point of this video is the fact that we can press our own reset button. On the 31st of December, I can reset me. So all of that stuff is still going on, but I can do my quiet time, my stock take. I can release, I can alleviate myself of so much burden and weight that I'm carrying around. I can move things on, items on to people in need. It's a good feeling, you know, it's rewarding to do so. And then I am free to press my reset button on the 31st. So that's why I really do appreciate the calendar, but I want to be real about it and understand that there still will be challenges next year. But that's not going to stop me from attending to my personal stock take and freeing myself up. So that's why I say, as far as, you know, things floating downstream, just allow them a moment or three. If things begin to sort of move away, just give yourself a moment. Is this a blessing? Do I really need this? Like, is this a chance for me to move on to something else? Because it could be very, very freeing, and it may be a blessing in disguise, which is why I wanted to, why I wanted to kind of press that point, because in a 9 year, one of the pointers is keep only what you need. But we have to be very careful with that statement. That doesn't mean that everyone should be living in a tent with a plastic spoon and a bowl. Well, that's what I need. I think within reason. So if you have your treasures and they are not weighing you down, stay with it. But the whole idea of the 9 energy is to be very, very honest. And then you realize more often than not, wow, I am clinging on to that particular thing or that situation or that person. Let's be honest, I am. And that is the most exhilarating, eye-opening experience when you realize, like, that is a major breakthrough as far as I'm concerned. So I hope that helps you in some way. I just felt compelled to share. So just keep in mind, gentle non-attachment, remain as fluid as possible, simple honesty, slow things down, have that day-to-day, appreciate every sunrise and sunset attitude, take a step back from a lot of those modern distractions, as I call them. Focus on your personal unfolding, focus on your spiritual path, because I think in a community, it's wonderful to be a part of a community, but sometimes we can inadvertently get caught up on someone else's path. Oh, look what they're doing. That's interesting. I think I'll do that. And that's all very well to participate, but I think you can inadvertently sway. Did I just say? Sorry, I'm repeating myself. But I think you can inadvertently sway off your path. So admire what they're doing, try it out, experiment, but until you sit quietly with yourself, you can't see that you're off your path. Bring yourself back into your heart and take a look within, and then take the next 3 steps forward. So in so many ways, I feel like the recommendations and the associations of the 9 personal year, they're just so fitting for any person on any given day, but especially at this time where the world has changed completely to what it was a couple of years ago. So acceptance, I always say to myself, this has been a thing for me for years, just remain fluid as best as possible, not rigid. What else was I going to share? Oh, I know. The only other thing I wanted to say is something I wrote in my journal quite some time ago, and it just transfers every year, and that is to move through life with gentle curiosity. So that means you are the seeker. That's one of the main themes of my life. I am a seeker. I just keep going in, keep going out there, discover more, but just that gentle curiosity, because that, I think, assists along the way with that whole philosophy of non-attachment. So I hope that helps. Have a look into your personal life and your immediate environment and see if you can use your discernment, right? And take an intuitive journey through through the dark alleyways of your existence, as well as everything you see around you. Very, very obvious. I always remind myself that what I see around me here is definitely attached to or associated with what's going on internally. And then that's when we just want that honest stock take. What do I really need? What brings me joy? What is appropriate for the person that I am today? And what isn't? I love that, I love that, I love that. But is it time to let it go or pass it on to someone who can use it right now, who will gain more from it than myself? I think that's it. So all the very best. Happy New Year. I, as I mentioned earlier, took a very conscious step away from so many things, including social media, but I'm now in a 1 year. It's time to get going. So I look forward to chatting with you more often in 2021. And as much as I say that things are going to, some of our challenges and changes are not going to simply disappear, I still think 2021 is looking far brighter. So that 2-1 energy, I might have a chat about that. I wrote some notes also at the beginning of this year on that 2020, and I'm not going to lie, I had concerns. And look how it turned out. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I look forward to chatting with you more in 2021. So all the very best. Take care. Be you. And I'll see you soon. Bye for now.